As we hurtle through the void of space, searching for the origin of cosmic beings, we plunge into the seas, hearing chants of La La Cthulhu fhtagn, La La Cthulhu fhtagn. At the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, we see the ruins of Rillier and the tentacled face of the great Cthulhu as he rises once more to retake Earth and bring back to life his brethren to help rule. It's the Carlisle Cult Cinema Cast!
Way! Jesus Christ! I bet you couldn't say that again. My flabber has been gasted. You know what I mean? Fantastic. Well, as you heard there, we're doing an H.P. Lovecraft special, and to be honest, we haven't really gone for the normal ones you'd think.
Well, there's not a lot of... Because it's just direct adaptations, isn't it?
Yeah, this is just a direct adaptations, which we will probably do a part 2.
Yeah. I mean, they take a lot of liberties, but...
They do, but these are adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft's work instead of being inspired by his work.
Yeah, or in the same world, because a lot of the stuff... it's in the same universe, but it's... That's it.
Not so I'm afraid we won't be talking about The Thing or anything like that this time round. We are going to be doing a kind of cosmic horror Lovecraftian inspiration.
Yeah.
I can hear that noise as well. It's the fridge.
Oh, is it? I thought it was some kind of like
otherworldly,
Cthulian creature. It's just like crept in. I didn't notice that sound at all until we started recording.
Yeah, it's just obviously the mics are just picking it up. But yeah, that's the fridge, I'm afraid. It's not some kind of Cthulhu chant, Lovecraftian chant. But yeah, so we're doing kind of direct adaptations of the great H.P. Lovecraft's work.
Yep.
I think we'll do another part of this soon, and the next one is going to be inspired by the works of Lovecraft.
Lot to choose there as well. Lot to choose there.
Oh, definitely, 100%. So let's get us started. And as always, it's me to go. And I've picked the very first Lovecraftian adaptation. Lovecraft adaptation. And that's 1963's Haunted Palace, directed by the legendary Roger Corman, starring Vincent Price, Lon Chaney Jr., Alicia Cook Jr. and Deborah Paget, amongst others. This is an absolute cracking horror gem that draws inspiration slightly from Edgar Allan Poe, but which is the title, and a bit of poem at the end of the film.
I was a big Poe fan, wasn't he?
Well, it was all... I was going to mention it earlier on, but I might as well get into it now. It was because of the Edgar Allan Poe series of films that Roger Corman was making.
Oh, yeah.
Which were a big hit. And it had similar cast in it, so they went with that.
But he was a big fan as well, so that kind of ties in a bit.
He was, yeah. But as I say, this was the first adaptation put to screen. Set in the eerie town of Arkham, Massachusetts in 1765, the story revolves around the mysterious palace overlooking the town. The townspeople suspect the owner, Joseph Kerwin, of being a warlock, and their fears are heightened when a young girl falls under his spell. Fast forward to 1875, where Charles Dexter Ward, Kerwin's great-great-grandson, and his wife Anne inherit the haunted palace. The couple faces hostility from the townsfolk and discovers the horrifying deformities plaguing Arkham's inhabitants. Charles' deep connection to Kerwin and his disturbing resemblance to a portrait of a warlock intensifies with a sense of dread. So there we go. That's the kind of story we're looking at. And do you know something? It looks beautiful.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Everything, the atmosphere, the set design, the sound design, the score, everything on it is just...
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to watch it, but I've got it. I've got a copy of it, so I'm definitely going to watch it this weekend because I'm on a roll now watching Lovecraft films. So I've just got 2 left to watch, and that's one of them.
And I mean, it just.
What's the story that it's based on?
The case of Charles Dexter Ward.
Oh right. Oh, that's what
I would have got
Suitable Flesh was as well, wasn't it?
Yes, pretty
much. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And The Resurrected.
Oh, right, that's the
Yeah.
other one I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
right,
that's the same kind of thing.
Right,
as well,
right, okay.
which is good as well. I like the Resurrected, and Necronomicon's worth a watch if you've not
I've
the
seen
anthology
Necronomicon,
one.
yeah.
Superb.
It was all right. Just some of the stories didn't seem to bear much resemblance to the original ones in it.
Some, I mean, let's be honest. Some of his Lovecraft stories are quite hard to adapt.
I think that's a really, really fair point, and I would probably have touched on that later on one of my picks.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, no, Whisperer in Darkness, I was thinking, because isn't it told out in letters predominantly?
yeah. Well, most of them are, aren't they?
You
Yeah.
have to develop some sense of action.
That's-
Yeah,
around
they've
that
got to
and
be.
beyond that.
Yeah, that's it.
Because that's how he always wrote pretty much most of the stories that I've read. It's like
He's writing a journal of what
Yeah,
happened.
That's it,
diary.
that's
and
it.
everything's indescribable. And
Yeah, that's he likes his kind of. It was so horrifying. I can't even write the words to describe it. And stuff
Yeah,
like
that's it. That's it. Vincent Price is the main man in this, and he delivers an absolutely cracking performance as both Charles Dexter Ward and Joseph Kerwin. And you know, he's every film that Price is in, he always seemed to put his all in, as if he was, you know, up for an award or something. You know what I mean? I can't ever think of a film that Price had made that I've watched where he just didn't give it all. He wasn't one of the best things in the whole movie.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
He's kind of one of the. He's the proper like hammy guy. He plays Vincent Price in all of his films,
Yeah,
but he does it very, very well. That's the thing. It's
That's it. I mean, he's got that presence on screen as well,
definitely.
but he's also got the way he uses his words and his cadence.
absolutely, yeah. The
You know,
pacing and just
yeah,
the pauses
exactly.
and everything's just
Everything's
so,
just and
it's kind of musical in its own.
Yes,
sort
and
of
same,
way.
he's got fantastic comedy timing as well. You know, because he was, you know, again, stage taught and, you know, the best and all the rest of it. Just such an iconic actor.
projecting the voice. That's what you find with stage actors when
Yeah,
they come on. You don't get
that's
mumblers.
it.
You get like proper projection of your voice.
That's it. And also, Lon Chaney's in this as well. And believe it or not, Lon Chaney was 5 years older than Price in this movie, and he looks fucked.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's because he'd had you know, he just drank and drank and drank and, you know what I mean, and he didn't look
Reminds
after
me.
himself.
Yeah, that's to his character mind in that. Because I didn't know that. And you watch it, and he plays like the henchman. Is he the caretaker of the
Caretaker,
haunted
but
palace?
also he's another warlock.
But, yeah.
He's
Of
another
course,
warlock,
yeah,
really, who's
yeah.
disguising as the caretaker of the palace.
Yeah.
And I mean, when they're all kind of taken over, they've got this pallor to them, like this grey, deathly pallor to them.
Right.
And when
It's just a little bit vaguely put on, though, isn't it? It looks like they're wearing a face mask.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, I've had my Blu-ray for years now, and I hadn't cracked it open until just the other day, and it looked fucking ace in HD.
Yeah, I think it looked really stunning. The first thing that captured me about it was just the visuals are stunning.
Yeah.
The camera works great. The way they just kind of roll across things slowly, set the atmosphere.
I mean, there was a lot of like what do they call it? Where it's painting.
Oh yeah. I don't know what it's called, but I know what you mean. Where
Yeah.
they use a painting for a scene and
Scenes.
kind of,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and you could see, but you couldn't really tell either. But even though, you know, we're in the
But it
know,
looks
and
great.
but yeah, it was
I know,
absolutely
it still looks
fantastic.
great.
Yeah, still looks great.
you can blend it in really well. In the thing, it's painting when they find the big ship.
Right.
And like I'd never noticed that until I watched the documentary and was like, oh, it's painting.
And I mean, also as well, I mean, the cast was stacked with loads of regulars from other Corman films. I mean, Alicia Cook Jr. Is a bloke, believe it or not, with that name.
Right.
But you'd recognise his face straight away because he was in House on Haunted Hill, and he was in quite a few Corman films, plus others. He's one of those faces from that time. You're like, oh God, yeah. You know what I mean? He's a very recognisable face. And the lead actress, Deborah Paget. Is it Paget? Paget. It was her last film.
Right.
I think she went to TV after that, but it was her last kind of film role. And she's great in it as Charles Dexter Ward's wife, who's looks like she's slowly losing her marbles because the kind of back and forth between, the Warlock and Charles Dexter Ward. It's really,
it's the same actor basically.
Yeah,
because obviously you haven't seen it, but
duplicitous.
I think that's probably my biggest issue with the film as a Lovecraft fan, and if you're looking at it from the point of view of it being an adaptation of it rather than inspired by, it kind of feels a little bit more in the latter camp for me, because it does veer away from the story quite a lot.
But most of them do veer away because, as we've just explained,
and we'll say that on some of the others. In fact, all of them.
I don't think any of them are exactly accurate. There's touches of.
I mean, these films that Corman adapted, the Edgar Allan Poe ones, and obviously this was H.P. Lovecraft. But that was these were my first introduction to Corman.
Yeah.
Roger Corman doing Mask of the Red Death and stuff like that. Absolutely fantastic. But it's also built my love of Corman that still goes on today. The man's, I think, 98-year-old.
He's still alive?
Still alive, right. Still making films.
I had no idea.
Still producing films. Incredible. You know what I mean? It's and the amount of talent he also mentored Coppola, who done Francis Ford Coppola done some script revisions on Haunted Palace.
Right. Okay.
So there's Coppola, Dante, Scorsese. Do you know what I mean? These guys all worked with Corman.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Even Spielberg and the likes of fucking bow down to Corman. Has just been... He's just great. And it's like when they were making Piranha and Corman sent Spielberg a copy of Piranha and he loved it because Paramount were going to block the release.
Right, okay.
And Spielberg went, no, this is great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's what Corman does. But this was when Corman was kind of really first starting out in a way. You see, he had quite a few films under his belt. Yeah. But these were the early days.
I'd be curious to know, and you might know this, but contemporarily, the budget that he had, was that a high budget or a moderate budget?
Yeah, there'd been probably a moderate budget. I think it was in the 300,000s range.
Which back then
would have been, if you kind of thing it up.
Yeah, it'd be a few million, but I wouldn't think it would be like...
It never worked. It never ever worked on big budgets.
No, that's what I would... given how good the cinematography is in the Haunted Palace, you can't help but think, what would this guy have done with supersized budgets?
Yeah, that's it. But he never wanted to go that way. No, he was happy being able to keep control of the films, you know what I mean? And AIP, who released it, released some absolutely crackers as well. American International Pictures, to the folk who don't know what AIP stands for. But but I'll be honest, it'd be about 40 years since I last watched The Haunted Palace. And when we said we were going to be doing, I thought, right, I'm jumping in. I'm going to go for this one. With it being the first adaptation as well, it had to be done. What I mean? And a cracking way to start off the podcast as well. But if you haven't seen The Haunted Palace, get it watched. Get on it. It's excellent. You know what I mean? It's fabulous. So I'll give you some trivia. As I've said, the film represents the first time a literary work of H.P. Lovecraft's. The author completed it in 1927. This was written, but it was not published until after his death. Corman decided to do an H.P. Lovecraft story to break from his Edgar Allan Poe series, while keeping the elements that made it successful. They took no chances and gave it a Poe title, which I've already said. And it comes from a line of text from The Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, yes.
The title. Where the ruined palace serves as a metaphor for the mind of the protagonist, Roderick Usher. And Roger Corman had, of course, filmed The Fall of the House of Usher in 1960, 3 years before this. I mentioned that. I was up 5 years difference, like, and 10 years later, Lon Chaney passed away
Right.
after this film, whereas Price lived another 30 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just shows you.
Went on to do Beat It. In
Yeah.
the 80s. Went on to do Beat It in
That's
the
it.
80s.
You mean Thriller?
Thriller, sorry, aye.
The evil of the Thriller.
Vincent Price.
That's it. Despite the great popularity of Corman's Edgar Allan Poe films in the UK market, this took nearly 3 years to get a British release. Not appearing until after 8 film series had been completed, and it was shown on a double bill with Die Monster Die. Good double bill.
Okay.
Well, you
Which
nearly
was
picked
one
that
of
as
the
well.
I
best.
nearly
actually.
picked, I was nearly going to do
What was
Haunted
that
Palace,
based on again? Die.
It was
Colour Out of Space.
Yeah.
Oh, was it really? Right.
which
yeah.
would have,
I haven't seen that.
which
so.
will I'll mention it when we get to the Colour Out of Spaces. So yeah, that would be great. So I nearly done Die Monster Die and Haunted Palace, but then it was a case of bollocks. So yeah, we changed it. The film includes the first film depiction of the Necronomicon, the fictional grimoire depicted in the tales of Lovecraft, and it also references Necros, Nomos,
Amos.
Amos.
Of Emmerdale.
Aye. Oh, did you not see you didn't see it?
What?
Amos Brealey as Wolverine.
Oh, really?
I made it up.
No idea who Amos Brealey is.
From
you ever watch Emmerdale Farm when you were a
Emmerdale
kid?
Farm, the original.
Oh, okay,
He worked.
yeah.
He was the bar. He
With
owned
the
the
big
wolf.
sideburns,
That's
I
it.
saw, yeah.
So I got the helmet on him and the claws. That's great. I sent it to a mate, and he just thought it was great. Like, did you see the Rita Sue and Bobby too?
You know what? I didn't know what Boba was. What was the other one you did though? Rita Sue and.
I didn't do that one.
Oh,
Dad
the
had
Boba Fett
posted that one, but
Yeah,
somebody had requested the Bobby
What- what's
from Still Game.
Oh God. Yeah,
Still Game's funny. It's really fun. I like it. It's good. And so I put that one up last night.
I saw that.
Aye. So I'm getting me Photoshop game's getting better.
Yeah. Ah, look good, yeah.
You know what I mean? So the setting of the film is in the village of Arkham. Arkham, Massachusetts is a fictional city created by H.P. Lovecraft.
You
and
know, every
used as-
story he's done that I've listened to,
Yeah.
I think, it's like
and-
Derry with Stephen King. So
That's
Yeah.
it. And home of the Miskatonic University as well, which pops up in just about every single one of his adaptations as well. It's mentioned. In this film, Charles Dexter Ward is from Boston, not from Rhode Island, as in Lovecraft's original story. Boston was chosen because Edgar Allan Poe. Keeping it with, there's another,
Right, okay.
you know what I mean? So keeping them illusions that it's in the Poe kind of film.
Poe-verse.
Yeah. The film includes references to Cthulhu, a fictional cosmic entity. Now, you'll probably get a lot of different versions of how we say Cthulhu, because, it's one of those. Because you hear different versions of it in every single film I've ever heard. So, I say Cthulhu.
You just say. No, sorry.
I say Cthulhu, you say Cthulhu. Cthulhu, Cthulhu, Cthulhu. Let's call the whole thing off. Anyways, fictional cosmic entity created by. Too dry a throat there. He was destined to eventually return in various human cultists awaited for the second coming of this deity. The film also includes a reference to Yog Sothoth, a fictional cosmic entity created by Lovecraft as well. And in a way, it's part of from the kind of Jewish mysticism.
All right.
He's pinched from. The film claims that the Necronomicon can be used to communicate with the Elder Gods. The Elder Gods is a name used by August Derleth and other post-Lovecraft writers of the Cthulhu mythos. I'm glad I'm reading this out instead of just saying it. In reference to a group of recurring deities in their stories. So there we go. That is The Haunted Palace. Roger Corman, Vincent Price, Lon Chaney Jr. Absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen it, get it. You can get it on in this country. Well, in the UK on Arrow. I've released it on Blu-ray. It's on the Scream Factory box set. It's also in the Arrow box set, the Vincent Price one as well. Find it, get it, watch it. Superb. It might be on Amazon Prime to watch.
Yeah, probably.
You know
I
what
don't
I mean?
think it is at the moment.
Is it not? Do you know something? There should be these films should be streamed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Streaming is missing out on so many good films.
Yeah, I know.
And people are just down that streaming route. I'm pleased I still have thousands of Blu-rays and VHS that I can delve into. The films that just aren't available anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You know,
that's
which is
it.
just a shame. But get yourselves on this. Roger Corman's H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, The Haunted Palace. Get on it. Over to Stevie Wonder.
Where should we begin? Right, I will begin with.
You've got to begin with. You've got to begin with Dagon.
Yeah, I was going to suggest Dagon. So.
Yeah.
Based on the H.P. Lovecraft story, The Shadow over Innsmouth, which
And
is
Dagon. It's based on them both, isn't it? Really, in a way. Elements.
Yeah, the kind of it all ties in with the deep ones, basically. Like I'll try not to get too nerdy on it.
That's my favourite. I've been just got into Lovecraft recently, but The Shadow over Innsmouth is definitely my favourite story I've listened to so far.
It's just
really
such
good.
a nicely put together story that has its own conclusion and a nice little bit of a twist at the end.
I've been into Lovecraft since the early 80s, since I first started watching the films.
Yeah.
I have read a couple of stories, Reanimator being one of them.
Yeah.
But that's about it, to be honest, for me.
Yeah.
I just enjoy watching the adaptations.
It's a great universe at the end of the day, and I think that's probably the most long-standing thing about it, because the language in the books is kind of hard work in places.
He likes to
maybe
waffle.
overly descriptive.
Use too many adjectives when he doesn't need to.
And I mean, certainly when I started reading them, I guess I was probably about 14 or something. I had to reach for the thesaurus all the time, and it was pre-mobile phones, so you couldn't just kind
it was a book.
look up the words or anything.
I just kind of guess. It's like, when you listen to Jabberwocky, which is all fictional words, you just kind of guess what that
in
word means, so I'll just kind of go with it.
And it's, at the end of the day, I think we kind of touched on this before, the indescribable horror, the unnamable horror. At the end of the day, he uses a lot of words to then say, can't really describe this very well.
I don't know how to describe it, but it's undescribable.
But that's like a lot of good horror films where you don't get the big reveal of the bad guy necessarily, you get flashes of it here and there, and it allows your imagination to fill in the gaps.
The best horror films are always the same. Today's audience want the reveal quickly.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They want that reveal quick. That's why 90% of the trailers give away the film.
Yeah.
Which is just, you know what I mean? Go back and look at the trailers of, and
I pretty much never watch a trailer anymore.
No,
Unless
I do
it's
try
something
and
I'm
avoid
really
them.
desperate to see. I think, I'm intrigued by this, but generally I think, just take a chance on the film.
Yeah.
I must admit, I like to watch a trailer.
I used to, but recently I have gone off them for that reason.
Yeah, you just kind of go, okay, so
there's a whole
quite
story.
clearly X, Y, or Z's going to happen. You wouldn't have got that from the title, and I kind of like the surprise. But yeah, Dagon, based on The Shadow over Innsmouth. You actually know more of the trivia than I do on this, because in all fairness, I didn't really read up on the trivia, but the actual making of it. It's set in Innsmouth, which is a seaside town.
It's set in the film. It's in Bucco, which is Innsmouth in Spanish.
In
I read
Spain,
that actually.
So it's been transplanted from
at least
America
they
to
kept
Spain. And I kind of like the fact that they're speaking different languages. And we were talking about this again before with not watching it with subtitles. And it kind of adds something to almost the horror of it, what's incomprehensible to the characters, because at the end of the day, the main character in it, he obviously doesn't speak any Spanish, so when they're talking, he doesn't know what's going on, and I quite like being in that place. But the general gist of it being that certainly in the film adaptation, there's two couples aboard a ship. They end up with storm hitting some rocks. The young couple disappear off to the town in the distance, and all sorts of strange things are happening there. They're not exactly welcomed. They're split up quite early on from one another, the young couple, and from there, it pretty much recreates like one of the biggest scenes in it, which is him in a very, very dilapidated hotel, which they really, really
that's
overly exaggerated.
The one that they really get right out of the original story. That's probably that, and that when they talk to the old man, when he talks to the old man, those are the two bits that they kind of took out the story. The rest's kind of different, really.
It does play it fast and loose, and there's, I mean, really, the entire kind of ending to it.
The ending's totally made up, but
but you know, again,
I mean, it's got there's some cracking jump scares. I mean, the one at the beginning with the mermaid.
Yeah,
you know, when she swims up to him and she's
it's all
and then all of a
fantastical
sudden,
and nice.
You know, I mean, that's a lovely jump scare. And there is a couple of decent jump scares in it. You know what I mean? It's again, this was a film I've got on Blu-ray. I hadn't watched it since the 2001, since VHS days, but I've got it on Blu-ray, so it was a ideal time for us to crack it out. There's a lot of films I buy and I just don't have time to watch everything, so they sit there until I get a time to watch it.
I think probably for me the one thing they missed most was actually featuring the deep ones in the form that I would most recognise them to be, which is very amphibian, like
those bits,
almost a human-sized frog-like creatures, and you kind of got the guy dragging himself along, which is kind of like
tentacles,
the deformed versions of it, and some of
again, it's the budget as well. Stuart Gordon has probably made the most H.P. Lovecraft adaptations.
Right.
I would have thought.
Was he the director?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Reanimator, From Beyond.
Oh, did he do? Okay.
Yeah. He's done loads
right
in that kind of
get you
That's
universe.
it.
Do Necronomicon as well? Then, or was it?
I think that was Brian Usner, who's the producer on Dagon, Reanimator.
Because there's that dude. What's the actor out of Reanimator and From Beyond and Necronomicon? Because he's in so many Lovecraft adaptations.
Yeah, I know. And he was on the tip of my tongue then, and it's gone. But I know exactly what you mean.
Sorry, see.
But it gets lots of little nods of the hat to the wider thing. So the chap in it is wearing the Miskatonic University jumper. The chanting of Cthulhu fhtagn, which again is kind of used throughout numerous things. So and I think it's quite interesting looking at how it was done. That most of it is done with hand cameras as well, which again kind of adds to the movement of the scenes and makes it feel a little bit more chaotic. And I think particularly the scene we're talking about in the hotel.
That's the best bit of the film, I think.
The one thing, the daftest bit of the entire film for me is when he's in the hotel and it's absolutely just minging. And then, he hears the sounds of shuffling and voices in the corridor, and then he decides to take the most pathetic lock on one door, which he does in the story.
I've noticed he only puts 2 screws in, but when he flashes back, it's 3 screws in.
And you've got about 73 people banging on the door trying to get through this thing that like a child could probably kick off. But
I thought that when I listened to the story, because I listened to an audio book, I thought I was thinking because he comes in and it's off the door, and he notices it's off the door, but it's sitting on the side rather than taking it off another door, and he uses he has a pocket, one of those Swiss Army knife things, and he puts it in, and then there's tons of people outside banging on it. I'm I thought that's just, but for story.
But that's it. Yeah, but no, it's a good fun film, and I say it is based on my favourite Lovecraft story, I think.
Oh, is it your favourite too?
And there is, I think there's a film called The Deep Ones. There's a film called Cthulhu, I think it's called Cthulhu, which is pretty much based on it as well.
Right, okay.
But I mean, in summary for me, I think the ones that we get to choose for an H.P. Lovecraft inspired, there are so many better films.
So many better films.
It's not scraping the barrel, but it kind of is with actual adaptations. There aren't that many great ones.
No, this is kind of the irony, because we ended up doing this because I got into Lovecraft and we've got a WhatsApp group, and I started saying, I'm just getting into Lovecraft, and it's really annoying that there's not a lot of oh nice, he's got a t-shirt on, and there's not enough quality direct adaptations of his work out, and then that we talked about it for a bit, and then that kind of morphed into how we ended up doing this podcast.
I mean, to be fair, the quality ones that are out there, we're not doing, apart from one. Well, The Haunted Palace, I'd say.
Yeah.
And One of the Colours Out of Space are the best ones we've
Ones
got
with a bit of
out
budget. Yeah.
the ones we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you know what, Reanimator
He's up there
would
for
have
me.
qualified as an adaptation,
Well,
even
it
though
is.
it's kind of a lunatic like
Yes,
comedy
it's-
version in its own way.
Yeah, it's not too far from the
fairly-
original.
Yeah, it's fairly
it's
close.
Different time, but like same. It hits the same notes, just in kind of a not necessarily the
seen
same
From
order and
Beyond?
stuff.
Yes.
Superb film as well. Barbara Crampton
a
gets
long
dressed
time
up
since I've seen
in
that.
kinky
Yeah.
S&M
Well, there's your in right from the off.
stockings and suspenders job and all that for all you young boys from Beyond.
Yeah,
And you've got also in From Beyond, you've got Peter from Dawn of the Dead,
oh
the
yeah,
black guy.
Right.
I can't think of his frigging name. It's gone from my head. But yeah, so yeah, got back to Stephen
Yeah,
Dagon.
so really, I just think if you're into Lovecraft, curious about Lovecraft, I think Dagon's not a terrible place to start.
No.
I think it's a good, solid film, fairly low budget, but you know they kind of make it happen as well as they can within the context of the story and
Yeah.
the budget they have
well,
available.
as I'd said, they weren't getting the funding
yeah,
in America anymore.
yeah. So they went to Spain.
So they went to Spain. Fantastic Factory, you know, and they've done a string of films over there. Beyond Reanimator, Faust was another,
yeah,
and Dagon. I think there was a couple of others as well. Can't remember.
It's fair to say I
It's-
quite like the ending as well.
yeah.
As
I mean,
far
it's,
as it goes, not
it's-
comparing it to the original, it's a satisfactory.
It's added on.
Right,
the one
okay,
I'm about
nice.
to do's got an added on ending as well, but
Right.
it's kind of it works with it. It's
Yeah.
And the gore effects are great when they're ripping out folks' guts and
the practical effects are good, but the CGI is
is
very
terrible.
ropey
Yeah,
in
it
it.
is poor.
It's
you know what I mean. But 2001 CGI. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it, George Lucas, and redo the CGI.
yeah, that's it.
We'll put the money in and redo the CGI on Dagon because you could probably do it better than that now on your own
Yeah.
computer.
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're
Oh, yeah,
mobile.
yeah,
Yeah.
easily. Yeah, it's funny because when I watched this is the second time I watched Dagon for this podcast. The first time I watched it, I hadn't read the original story, but I didn't really enjoy it. But I did enjoy a lot more knowing the source material a bit because I
Yeah.
noticed the nods to it. So it did. I definitely enjoyed it more on the second watch, or maybe it was just I needed a second watch. I don't know, but yeah,
I think it's 88 films have got the British release of Dagon out there.
right.
I think it's 88 films. There's a British release of it anyways. I think it's the American release I've got. But yeah, so go out and get, because it's not on any of the fucking streaming sites.
No. Tell you what's worth noting, we were just talking about, you know, the paucity of good Lovecraft adaptations and budget as well, but Del Toro was going to do Mountains of Madness,
Yeah, I remember
which
that.
got shelved, and you think,
Yeah, I was very excited about
man.
that.
I mean, maybe some people, it's a favourite story. For me, it is, I like it, but it's fairly drawn out. And
Right.
I
That
think
was
it's
because Tom Cruise was attached to Del Toro's version of that.
right.
Was he?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of scope there for making a tight.
Yeah, I'd never
maybe
heard the
2.5
story,
hour
but
film.
when it was being talked about, I read just a bit of Wikipedia on what it was, and I thought, this sounds really cool. I want this to be made, but then, of course, it never happened.
I'm trying to think what film it was that decided he shelved it because of another film.
The Shape of Water or something, it would be about that time, was it?
No, it
No,
was
it
that
was-
that fucking shitty ghost story he done.
Fuck
Crimson
Peak,
Crimson
Tide.
Shite.
I quite like that.
Oh, I thought it was garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't
Utter
think it was
trash.
I didn't. Yeah, I
But it
wasn't
didn't
keen.
stand up to Pan's Labyrinth or The Devil's
No,
Backbone.
no.
Or,
Or
That's it.
Blade 2, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mimic even.
but yeah, I'm sure it was
Pinocchio.
something
Pinocchio
released
was
by
pretty good.
somebody else that the story, he felt it was too similar to go and push it towards Hollywood for a big budget film. And I can't for the life of me think what it was.
What would that be close to?
But yeah, that's Dagon.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Okay, so
Over to Wofster.
over to me. Excuse me. It's not Reanimator. I've got that up. Jeffrey Combs was the guy that we're trying to
That's
think
it,
of before.
Jeffrey
Yeah,
Combs.
So mine is from 2011, and it's The Whisper in Darkness, which I picked shortly after reading the story, which I really enjoyed. So I was very curious to see what they do with the film. Directed by Sean Branny. It's made by what they called the
H.P. Lovecraft Historical
Society. That's it. Yeah. So it's not got a big budget, and the two that I've seen by them are both black and white, which I think helps in some way because it kind of makes it.
Yeah.
What was the other one they did?
Call of Cthulhu. Which, to be honest,
I think I've got that as well.
You know, on reflection, and I did kind of hover over it.
Yeah.
I think that is probably, in many ways, my favourite.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're doing another one,
but-
so there's still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've still got easily another 6 films out of it.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I just listened to the audiobook, the story of the Call of Cthulhu. I did enjoy it, but funny when you were saying that you thought Mountains of Madness was a bit drawn out. I felt the Call of Cthulhu was a little bit too drawn out. There was a lot of very kind of descriptive, and then they found an artifact, and then they found another artifact, and this tribe did this, and it was kind of all right, get to the meat of the story. But I did enjoy it. I've enjoyed everything I've listened to so far. But yeah, The Whispering Darkness was one of the ones that I've really enjoyed, so I was very interested to see what they did here. So directed by Sean Branny, and again, because it's just done by the Lovecraft Historical Society, it's not really people that you'll see in much other stuff that other than pretty much everybody that's in this was in the Call of Cthulhu, and that's about it.
Yeah, kind of hobbyists and
just really like
huge
Lovecraft
fans.
There was a bit of ropey acting in it and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and it's black and white, and it's filmed. It's meant to be in the style of like the 50s, so so you can get away with a bit of hammy acting because they're deliberately doing it. And you can get away with some dodgy.
You can see it's a style of that kind of late 40s.
There's one in particular,
horror.
that guy that's there at the end, and he's there at the start, and he's so hammy. I can't remember the character's name. He's one of his associates. Does he smoke a cigar or
Charlie
something?
Tower.
Yeah, that could be him. Yeah, God, he was so hammy, but it was kind of funny, to be honest. But it felt like he was in like a slightly more comedic version of the film when I was watching it.
Because this was when you'd said to me, I was like, because I'd said to you, I'm sure I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I had, as soon as I started watching it, I was like, I've seen this.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It gets the story across. And the story's a good story. So
there's
that's
some ropey acting and ropey effects.
Yeah.
But then it's just
pretty much
every single
one
one
that
we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know
let's be honest,
most
of
classic
the
horror has some fairly ropey. You know, you can scan the shelves of this room that we're in. We're surrounded by VHS.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of them are great films, but some of them look crap when you look back.
Oh,
but, you know, they conveyed an emotion, that's
yeah.
or a story, obviously.
Yeah, and that's what it is with this. I listen to the story, watch the film, and then you know what? It's quite close to the original
For 2/3.
Do that until the ending, and then it suddenly goes whoop. Let's just do a total different ending. But the rest, I mean, the biggest difference is it kind of what we were talking a little bit about before is that the original story, most of the story is just letters written between these two guys.
But as I say, that's a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stuff. It's journals, it's letters,
Yeah.
newspaper articles.
That's it.
Oh, newspaper articles. I was away from the mic there slightly. Letters. You know, journals, newspaper articles, stuff like that.
So it means that so in the story, like in the original, most of the story is based around the letters going backwards and forwards. But in this one, it kind of just mentions them, and then it goes straight to the end of the actual story, which is a cinematic decision because it kind of works. You couldn't just say, and then he wrote this letter, and then he wrote this letter, and then he wrote this. It's
could you imagine just see the handwriting letters all the way through the film?
That's it.
Back and forth.
Ever.
So you've got Matt Foyer. These are the main actors. Matt Foyer, who was in The Call of Cthulhu. Barry Lynch, who was in a lot of these were in a lot of video games. Red Dead Redemption. He did a lot of small parts in Star Trek films. Actually, he was in Kojak and Miami Vice. Hannah Mast, Autumn Wendell. Sorry. She's just kind of been in a few TV shows I've never heard of. And that's probably it. But we had Casper Marsh and Joe Sofranco, and they're kind of the main actors in it. So basically, it was originally written and set in 1931, and it's kind of a mixture of horror and sci-fi. The basic storyline is you've got Albert Wilmarth. who's a folklore professor at, again, the Miskatonic University.
Good old Miskatonic Uni.
Yeah, and he's a bit of a cynic. But there's these stories coming out of these strange creatures being washed up in rivers and stuff in the remote mountains of Vermont. And he starts receiving letters from this farmer in Vermont called Henry Akeley. But he largely just kind of ignores them at first. He just, in the original story, he writes back and they're writing back and forth. But in the film, he's kind of as if he ignores them, really. George is... basically, so his son, Henry Akeley's son, George, is going to bring a strange relic that he found in the mountains that's somehow related to these creatures that will be of interest.
There's a lot of old relics in the films that are found.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and all the stories. There's always a relic somewhere, normally of Cthulhu or something.
Yeah.
So eventually...
It's like that butt plug looking one from Dagon. Do you know what I mean? The big egg thing.
Yeah. So
there's an insight into PD's personal life.
Yeah,
that's it.
That'll fit up my arse.
Well, Chewie would know. He was with the size of mine.
So basically, George, Henry Akeley's son, disappears. And Wilmarth eventually decides to visit Akeley on his farm. He's picked up by a stranger and taken to the farm, and he speaks to Akeley. Akeley's acting very strange. He looks a bit ill. And then basically, Wilmarth goes off to bed, and I'll kind of leave the setup to there because then it starts to get a bit weird, and he doesn't get much sleep basically. And that's kind of
He wakes up, drinks loads of coffee, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Plays a bit of Halo, and and that was a bit retro Halo. Call of Duty. And then, it largely sticks
Jet
to
Set Willy.
Jet Set Willy, yeah, even getting more retro now. Pong, yeah, it was just going backwards. I think I kind of mentioned the main difference is, the ending. The ending's the big difference. They've clearly we need some kind of cinematic ending to this. This in the original story, it's got a good ending, but it just kind of finishes, and it kind of works on paper. But in a film, you kind of want something with a bit of oomph, and it gives you that. I didn't think it was a bad ending. It just wasn't the original ending.
No, I think you were talking about eras. I think it was very much meant to be from the 1930s kind of style of things, like Kong or whatever.
The
biplanes.
Yeah,
and all
you're probably
kind of
right.
There's
Actually,
a little bit of a kind of comparison there.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I suppose is when it was originally set, so that it all ties in, doesn't it? There's actually, I think it's the first one I've ever done that has zero trivia on it. The only bit of interest that I found was at the start. It says when it has the usual FB copyright at the start, it says all video involving fungal beings from the farther reaches of the solar system is carefully monitored by the MIGO, who deal harshly with those who duplicate and upload to the internet without permission.
There we go.
Good luck on finding that anywhere, but I struggled. But
I
yeah,
think you can actually buy it direct from the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society.
Is that way?
Yeah. I'm sure you can. I could be wrong.
That makes sense.
They do sell it, at least on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever the
format
is.
I just borrowed mine off someone, so but that's the way to Google it, and and if you don't, I mean, if you want to get into Lovecraft, like me, someone that's just got into him, so I'm not speaking as an expert. They're very short stories, so go and get the audiobook or read them or whatever. Necronomicon has, I think, pretty much all the best ones in it. Do that, but if you can't be bothered, you just want to watch a film, then that's a pretty good adaptation of one of the stories.
Yeah, I think if you want the feel of the original stories of that and the Call of Cthulhu, obviously by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society, they are the go-to ones to kind of see. Do you like the original stuff, or do you just want to stick with the stuff inspired by? Which many people will, which is cool.
Yeah, that's it.
But just Shadow over Innsmouth and Whisperer in Darkness are both key stories in the Lovecraft Investigations, which is a BBC4 radio drama.
Is that what you sent me on YouTube?
I think that was actually that was a version of the Shadow over Innsmouth, which the BBC did as well. I've got to say props to the BBC. The Shadow over Innsmouth that you can listen to it on YouTube now. I don't think they have it anymore, but on BBC iPlayer and I don't know whether you're in other countries listening to this, whether you'll still have the same access to it, but the H.P. Lovecraft Investigations, it's basically a podcast. There's a guy and a girl, and they do investigations into various things. I think it's more kind of loosely supernatural, but then they get drawn into this world of Lovecraftian stuff, and it starts off with the case of Charles Dexter Ward, and then I think it goes to does it go? No, I think it's a Whisperer in Darkness next, and then it goes to Innsmouth, and then I can't think what the last one was.
So it's like a mockcast, if there's such a thing. So they're pretending it's a podcast, but actually...
It's all
that's
done
interesting. There's quite a few things like that. It's a podcast, but it's people playing characters.
Yeah, it's really
I suppose
well done.
mockumentaries have been a thing for so well. Yeah, of course it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Jess listens to stuff like that. She likes a lot of real crime stuff, so she listens to one all the time, which sounds like that, but about real crime. So I guess it's kind of the same thing, but about Lovecraft. So
I
that
think
sounds really good, actually.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, I'll stick that on my podcast list. But cool. Yeah, so that's it. Over to PD for his next one.
My next one is from 1988, and it's an absolute I think it's an absolute cracker. Directed and written by Jean-Paul Houlet. I think that's how it's said. And it's The Unnamable, which I first saw on VHS back in 1988 when it first came out. And I still have it. Should be just above me there, Unnamable 1 and 2 somewhere.
Yep, Unnamable returns.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah.
So I've still got them on VHS. I've got the DVD with the double on, and I've got Unnamable on Blu-ray because the sequel hasn't been released yet.
Right.
And the sequel is the better of the two films, to be honest.
And it also ties in with another H.P. Lovecraft story, the Statement of Randolph Carter.
That's it, because Randolph Carter's one of the characters in The Unnamable. But it's an absolute cracking film. Basically, back in the 1800s, a lady gives birth to a monster. They decide that the baby's too ugly to name. Therefore, the monster is known as the Unnamable, but she has actually got a name. The creature brutally slaughters her family and is trapped in a vault. Flash forward to 1988, and a group of college students go to the house where the Unnamable creature still resides, and shit kicks off.
Can I just say that's the biggest flaw with the film in its entirety for me? It would have been so much better if they'd filmed it more contemporarily to when the original events had happened. Because you think, it's pretty much within a mile of the university, and they're the first students to think, let's go to the haunted house. It's so stupid. Sorry.
Personally, love the film. Saw it 88. Never read the story it's based on, but saw it 88 on VHS, and it's just one of those. I love the creature design.
I have to admit,
it's got some great effects.
Seeing it in the video shop when I was a kid and looking at the cover and going, "Oh, that looks really cool." So I was looking forward to seeing it based on the picture of the creature on the front.
But no, one I've always thoroughly enjoyed, and I just, his daughter, it's Joshua Winthrop, and his daughter's name's Elida Winthrop. And as I said, one of the standout things is the creature design and the practical effects, because there's the heart bit at the start getting ripped out, which is really graphic. Pardon me, I burped then. I didn't mean to, it just kind of came out as I was talking. So I do apologise to anybody listening for that foul noise coming out of my mouth.
Don't fart in the microphone. It'll be all right.
But the creature design for me is just absolutely fantastic. The story kind of is neither there or nothing, because it's just its usual. College kids go to a house. There's a monster in it. You know what I mean? It's the usual kind of tale.
Yeah.
As I say, the sequel is a lot better and has got a lot better cast. But I might talk about that in the next adaptation. I was going to talk about them both, but I decided not to.
Right.
It's not the best. As you say, it's not the best adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft, but it was there before a lot of the others. You know what I mean? Balls to somebody who went and thought, I'm going to try and do this. It took the guy 7 days to write it. You can tell. You know what I mean?
The original story
is basically the Unnamable, the original story, right? Okay,
and it basically is. I think it's two guys sat talking about things being unnamable, indescribable. Because I think I can't remember if it is Randolph Carter in the original story or not. Forgive me, but
yeah, it is.
It kind of felt like Lovecraft was almost
The statement of Randolph Carter should have come first,
right,
and then it was the Unnamable.
but the story is basically they're sat chatting about indescribable things, and he gets off on talking about this kind of road down the road, like not even a mile from here, and they're talking about it, and then they suddenly get attacked by something and wake up in hospital with kind of hoof prints or whatever on the chest and things. And that's it. That's the entire story. They don't go off to the house or anything. They just get attacked by this unnamable thing. But I quite liked the fact they're talking about it, and one of them's kind of mocking the other of his fancy for writing that everything's indescribable and unnamable.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that was Lovecraft mocking himself.
Oh, right,
or
yes,
apparently, I did read something just in a run to this that it was like maybe a bit of a dig at another contemporary author.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or
People in glass houses.
One of his friends.
Well, Lovecraft was big friends with a guy who wrote Conan.
He was, yeah.
And that's why there's a very similar kind of mythos between the two.
They share some of the
They share some of the creatures and the gods, and all that.
Stuff.
Yeah,
definitely.
But yeah, I always, as we were saying, Randolph Carter, the statement was the first story, and then the Unnamable was the second story he was in.
Right.
I think there was another couple. Because obviously I had to go and have a read up on
Research.
bit of research, man. The film itself is 88 minutes long, so it's quite a short film.
1988, 88 minutes long.
Exactly.
Before films work like that.
As I say, it does have its moments, but there is a couple of pacing lags as well, especially in the middle when they go back to the school, and you know what I mean. The best bits are when they're in the house and they're trying to fight off the creature or whatever. That's the best thing, because that's all you want to see.
Yeah.
Really, as especially I was maybe 13 when I seen this.
Yeah.
14 possibly. Absolutely fantastic. Again, it's set at Miskatonic, which was like all of everything to me. But it's charming. It's got its charms. It's some great practical effects. And for me, obviously, there's that whole nostalgia over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a poster for it in my bedroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Video poster for it and all that kind of thing. But I do enjoy the sequel a bit more. But I feel I have to watch the first before I watch the sequel. But there's certain films I can just go ahead and watch the sequel. Fright Night 2, Return of the Living Dead 2.
American Pie is one of mine. I'll just pick a one at random. I fancy that one this time.
I like the straight-to-video American Pies.
You say I've still not seen those ones.
Oh, they're great fun. Just because it's not them, there's always a Stifler involved.
Yeah, but
there's always a Stifler involved.
I mean, I've not seen them, so it's bad for me. But I've got an assumption that it's not going to be as well written, and it's not going to be as tight.
No, they're not as tight, but they're still funny.
Yeah.
It's frat humour.
Yeah, which I did
frat
enjoy.
boy humour.
And there are no elder gods in it, which is a bit of a disappointment. So why do we
this
have
is it.
American Pie meets
Cthulhu.
Lovecraft?
The Cthulhu, yes. So up to trivia, it was shot in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of trivia in
that.
this, so I'll fly through it. It was shot in 3 weeks. It took 9 hours to put the creature makeup on. Fuck me. The script was written in 7 days. Laura Albert kept the sickle she brandishes in the film. The heart, which is ripped out, was a lamb's heart. This is what I mean. There were real guts in that used in Dagon.
Yeah.
So any horror fan who's a vegan and goes on about veganism and all the rest of it needs to get themselves a grip, because they're watching films that there was actual real offal used.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Right.
Camille Calvert was hired to do the makeup on this film because the woman who was cast to play the monster. They usually don't do that. It's usually a man, even if it's a woman. Camille Calvert was the hands for the creature in all the close-up shots. And animal entrails were used for the guts of the film, like I've just said. And Mark Kinsey Stevens, who played Randolph Carter, found out about the film through an ad in a magazine, and he was a big H.P. Lovecraft fan as well.
Right.
So that's all I've got on The Unnamable. But if you've not seen it, it is available on Blu-ray. It is available on a double DVD where you can get both of them, which is probably your best bet to get. You might find it quite cheap as well. And I've got the VHSs. You don't see it anywhere. You don't see it it's one of those films that you just don't see anywhere.
When you picked it, I was like, God, I haven't seen that. Well, I'd never watched it at the time, but I haven't seen the poster or the VHS.
Some of the acting's a little bit ropey, but it's, some of the effects are, but that's to be expected.
I think if I'd watched it back in the day,
you'd have enjoyed it more.
I'd have enjoyed it more because I would have had that nostalgia element to it, coming back into it, having not seen it.
Well, that's the problem with some old films, especially from the VHS era.
Yeah.
That if you don't kind of catch them then, when you come to watch them now, you just think, oh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But whereas I'm like, oh, yes, darling. Thank you, please, more.
I think this kind of the thing of nostalgia, but there obviously is a seam of people that can watch them for the first time, but like, this is amazing.
It's a big retro thing.
It's so cool, because it keeps them alive, because let's face it, as we all get older, these films would die out if people didn't discover them now and have the same passion that we once had.
But as a Lovecraft adaptation, it's a bit ropey, but they all are, to be honest. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's The Unnamable. It was cut as well originally over here.
Was it?
Yeah, by a few seconds. 30 seconds in total.
Right.
Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is.
Yeah.
And it was all gore stuff that was cut for
makes
British
sense.
censors. So that was The Unnamable, and now over to Steve.
Okay,
so his second and last.
We're going to really get in some bad pronunciations here, never mind the Cthulhu fhtagns and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
My second pick was The Colour Out of Space, but actually the German 2010 film, Die Farbe.
That's the colour, isn't it?
The colour. So I apologise if that's a butchered pronunciation. Directed by a German Vietnamese chap called Huan Vu, who does not appear to have done a great deal other than this. Certainly nothing that I've seen. And the general gist of it, I will give you the kind of the IMDb style rundown. It's set in Arkham again. So that's... How many have we done so far? This is fifth. I think that's 3, because I think Unnamable set in Arkham, of course, with Miskatonic. So Arkham once again.
What came first, Batman or Lovecraft? Must have been
Lovecraft.
So Batman
that's where
they pinched the Arkham Asylum.
Jonathan Davis, not from Korn, I don't think. Jonathan Davis's father has disappeared.
Going like a freak on a leash.
It's like the lounge version of.
So the chap from Korn's dad has gone missing. The tracks lead to Germany, to a forest where he was stationed after the Second World War. He sets out to find him and bring him home, but deep in the woods he discovers a dark mystery from the past. The general gist of it being, I think it's again slightly different to the book. In the book, there's the building of a reservoir looming in the future, which is very ominous as you go through the story. But in this, I think it is actually already.
Not for building it.
Because they were flooding places and all. You can't go down that road because we've just flooded it.
I think they're actively doing it throughout the film, the story. But there's a farm, a meteorite lands. They obviously discover it, they report it, some of the local authorities, and everything will come out of a look at it. Continues to shrink and then gradually disappears and whatever else.
But then that's basically... Because this colour out, because I've seen a lot of different versions of this.
I have this week. I've seen 3 different versions of it just in a week.
The Curse was the first version I ever seen.
Yeah.
No, Die Monster Die will have been, but I didn't realise it.
Yeah.
But the Curse will have been, and most of them just stick to the farm story.
Yeah.
They don't do all the stuff where the farm was set 50 years before. You know what I mean? It's just usually the farm story, where this one does a bit more. You know, the farm story was 50 years before.
Yeah.
This is now, and this guy's getting the story told to him, kind of thing, as he's doing these investigations.
And I like that, the fact it's got a narrator. It kind of, for me, adds a little. I mean, it's hard to choose a film and then say, you know, on the podcast, it's not a great film. It's not a great film, but it's good. I like it, and it tells a story well.
You can say a film's not a great film, but it's still a good film.
Yeah, there's definitely something to recommend in it. But yeah, so the meteorite lands and basically poisons a farm. The fruit and veg ends up growing particularly large.
Genetically modified.
But weird colours. But then it's completely tasteless.
It's funny how they all go for that purpley colour, isn't it?
Magenta.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's a bit of that in one of my trivia of mine.
It's a good indescribable colour. Magenta. Okay, right. That's a funny thing about choosing a colour as being indescribable. Unless you do it as like a kaleidoscopic, continually moving colour.
Well, that's it. How do you do it? Because I thought that when I first started watching it, 'cause it's black and white, and I thought, oh, they're getting around the fact that the colour is indescribable by having it all in black and white. And then the only thing that was in colour was the colour that's indescribable. I was like, oh, right, and that's magenta.
But I really like the fact it's black and white.
Yeah.
And then as you see the colour, that is actually in colour. And there's a nice little touch to make it kind of stand out and be a little bit punchier.
If you live in a world of black and white, then any colour seems like an indescribable colour, I suppose.
That's it. It's very vivid looking in the context of black and white.
Yeah.
And that's 2 black and white choices as well.
Yeah, if we'd done Call of Cthulhu, we would have had 3.
Like 50-50.
Yeah.
And
it's me who's got the oldest film, and that's not even in black and white.
Yeah, true.
and you know what? Probably visually one of the best.
But I think possibly visually the best.
I think the next pick is probably it's pretty spectacular looking film. But yeah, basically the meteorite is a corrupting alien influence that ends up causing untold disaster to the farmer and his family. Won't go into any particular detail on that. You might for the next choice. I'm not sure, because we're going to go there again. But
it's a body horror film.
It's
in a way.
What the other version of it?
Well, even your version's got some body horror in it.
Yeah, because they end up fairly
messed up,
mutated, because basically they end up drinking water from the well.
There's a lot of body horror in a lot of Lovecraft stuff, to be honest.
From Beyond and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think because we might as well make this a 2-in-1. The Waff's second choice was also The Colour Out of Space.
But the Nicolas Cage version.
So,
Richard Stanley directing.
All right. Here's all my facts.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be a cunt.
Sorry, I'm just joking.
Everyone's a bit of a cunt sometimes.
So yeah, I think an opportunity for you to chip in with yours, and we'll kind of compare and contrast a little if we can.
Oh, right, okay. Mine. I've got mine.
Don't need to put you on the back foot.
That's right. I just have some bits written.
I nearly done Die Monster Die.
Yeah.
Which would have been the third version of us doing Colour Out of Space. So I pulled mine.
We could have just done a Colour Out of Space episode.
Just, you know what I mean?
Compared them. Ironically, I still haven't actually read the original version of this one yet. So
it's good.
Well, I have heard that Farbe is the closest to it, which kind of, because there's narrator and stuff.
I'd say that the one that Steve picked is the closest.
Yeah.
But I'd say the one you've picked's the best.
Yes.
This is my favourite one of them all, I think. I was going to do, if I was just doing one, because originally Daz was going to join us, and I was just going to do one.
Hi, Daz.
Hi, Daz. I was going to, but I thought, no, Whisper in the Darkness, because it's not Colour Out of Space, basically. But this was the one I wanted to pick, because I just loved it before I even kind of got into Lovecraft. But yeah, I mean, it's very different. It's set.
Sorry, can I just say, the reason Daz isn't here, everybody, is because he just hasn't got a clue with H.P. Lovecraft at all. He's never seen any of the movies. He's never read anything. So he just went, look, lads. He was going to do Reanimator, which, but he went, look, lads, I don't know enough.
He knows even less than us, so...
Yeah. And we know...
let's not dilute it anymore.
You two have read more than I've read, but I've seen more than you've seen.
You know what? I do know quite a lot. And
Yeah,
I've read
Steve's the
lot,
expert.
and I've got loads of toys and T-shirts and posters
Yeah.
and framed things, whatever else, statues.
He's even got
He's even got like butt plugs on. I must point out.
Yeah.
Is it? But you do have the woolly Cthulhu jockstrap.
Of course, doesn't everybody?
You know what I mean? 'Cause-
Tentacled cock ring.
Exactly, because your missus loves it. It's all about the tentacles.
But no, you know what? It's one of those things. It's such a. Not that I'm saying that I think everything that people are into, there's always somebody that is keen to gatekeep. But I think some people that are so into it are like, balls deep in it. They know everything back to front. And me being ADHD, I just don't retain facts particularly well anyway. So I don't want to come across being like, I know my Lovecraft, and then people are listening to this and going, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You would have known this fact and that
That's it.
fact.
Yeah.
But
No, that's
I don't know my
disclaimer.
Lovecraft. I know the film versions,
yeah.
Yeah.
but I don't know my Lovecraft.
And you like the feel of the kind of cosmic horror and the,
and I always have.
And
the
let's face it,
influences.
you can't dismiss the influence he had on the likes of Stephen King.
No.
And without the likes of Stephen King, and then we wouldn't have most of the films
Because
that we talk about.
I read Reanimator 87 because I'd seen the film and I wanted to read the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got a thing. I downloaded it years and years ago. I got a file, mate, from America, so I downloaded off him. It's got everything,
Right. Yeah.
all the books and that in it.
You know, I'll tell you what I was going to
PDFs.
mention when we were talking about the Whisperer in Darkness, when it goes off in like the third kind of act of it, or the final third of the film. I think, and it's something that other people have commented on, it's so much like the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. So we are getting nerdy now. So I thought I couldn't not mention the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game, because that was probably my gateway. I remember buying Call of Cthulhu 3rd edition or something.
Right.
And sat, read all the rules, just loved the idea of it all, then started reading the books, and nobody ever wanted to play it with me. So
That's
there you go, that's the story of my life.
Get the violins
Anyway,
out.
sorry, what?
Yeah. All right. Well, so this is the 2011 version, which 2011, sorry, 2019.
2019, I was going to say.
I was thinking, it's Whispers in the Darkness 2011, which was Richard Stanley, who of course did The Island of Dr. Moreau, which I've always enjoyed, even though
Hardware, Dust Devil.
Yeah, that's the other two I've got.
Did we get taken off that when they were making
Yeah,
Dr.
there was like loads of shit.
And he
happening
dressed back up in one of the creature costumes so he could be on set still.
Really?
Yeah.
eccentric character.
Yeah,
well,
I've got him on my friends list, and he's quite a nice bloke because I've spoken to him a few times.
he's just been accused of domestic abuse, but
It's all been dropped. That
he's
was
filed a
few
counter. Yeah,
It's all been dropped. That now.
So that's all. Yeah, because that's the thing. This particular one was meant to be 3 in a trilogy. So the next one he was going to do was the Dunwich Horror.
I believe he still might be doing it.
Well, that's the thing. So I think since they originally dropped him and said, no, we want nothing to do with him because domestic abuse and that's just immediate, like, cancel culture and that. So he got off with it now, and now there's rumours that he's back on. So I don't know what the third one will be, but yeah, hopefully, because I did enjoy this version.
Oh, I mean, the look of it, the style, the effects, the acting, just fucking top notch. All of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, I'll go through this and then we can do a little comparison between the two. So you kind of, yeah. So you've got Nicolas Cage in the main role. This is interesting. Everybody probably knows this fact, but I just found it when I was looking up some trivia on him before. Does anyone else know that he's Francis Ford Coppola's nephew?
Yeah.
That's old school.
I didn't
I've
know
known
that
since the 80s.
I had no idea. I was like,
And the reason he chose Cage, Nicolas Cage, because he didn't want the whole Nepo thing.
right,
You
yeah.
know, he didn't want to be the nepotism of.
Yeah, I read he changed his name, but like I was like, right, yep, no, it was complete, like, absolute shock to me.
I mean, he
was like,
starred in a couple of his uncle's films, but especially back in the early days.
did he? What was he in?
Yeah.
Was it The Outsiders or something like that? It was one of the 80s films that Coppola did.
Right, yeah, yep. No, that was quite a shocking bit of trivia for me.
You know what's more horrifying than any H.P. Lovecraft?
What's that?
It's Nicolas Cage as Superman. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, it was.
I would have loved to have seen it though.
Yeah, it was.
With his mullet.
Yeah, it's Tim Burton for you. Well, Michael Keaton and Nicolas Cage. Well, Michael Keaton worked so well. I guess it's kind of. Yeah, so he's an Oscar winner, of course. You kind of forget about it these days. He did Leaving Las Vegas and got the
Which
Oscar.
was directed by a guy from Carlisle.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think you've told me
From
that before.
Dead
Actually. Mad.
He's filmed it in it.
It's film,
as well,
yeah,
isn't
with Julian Sands. He made a film. I can't remember its title, but yeah.
But obviously, he's been in loads of films. It's probably quicker listing films he hasn't been in than no listing
Yeah,
films he's
it's
been
Nick Cage.
in. Yeah, it's Nick Cage. You've got Jolie Richardson playing his wife.
Excellent actress.
This is the Gardner family, the main thing. So she's been in loads as well. She was in Event Horizon, The Gentleman that we just watched. I think
TV show. Yeah,
really, really good fun. 101 Dalmatians. She's one of the, you get actors and actresses mixed up with each other sometimes. I used to get Glenn Close and...
I know what you're saying. She's one of those English actresses that you can get mixed up with a few.
Well, Meryl Streep and Glenn Close I always got mixed up. And I always got Jolie Richardson mixed up with Laura Dern.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there's something about the two. I'm like, oh, there's Laura Dern. No, it's Jolie
That's
Richardson.
right. Is it Samara Weaving, whatever she's called? And there's a whole, four.
That look just about
I can't
identical.
tell the difference. And some
Like,
people
her who's
are
in
like,
Furiosa.
they don't look anything like each other.
Oh,
yeah, they're totally.
Her who's in Furiosa. Yeah. Samara Weaving.
Yeah. Barbie, what's she called?
Aye.
Margot Robbie, yeah.
Margot Robbie.
She was
And there's another one that looks very similar, and I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. Oh, yeah.
Don't we
Yeah.
go off on more tangents when Woff's talking than any other time? Sorry, Woff, back to you.
Oh, no, I tend to start them, to be honest.
Which you did start this tangent.
Yeah, no, I like
I usually pull everybody back in, don't I? After a couple of minutes of tangenting, we're like, back in.
pull everyone off.
No. You've asked me to so many times, Waffle. I'm telling you, no. It's getting sickening.
And then you've got the daughter, Madeline Arthur. I recognised her, but she's not been in a lot of things I've seen, though. She was in X-Files, Supernatural, and she was in this TV show of Snowpiercer. I haven't watched the TV series, although the film was great. And you've got Elliot Knight, who played Ward Phillips. You've got Tommy Chong, it's Chong, of Cheech and Chong, basically.
Tommy Chong is just awesome, man. When I seen him, when I heard he was in this and I seen his part, I was like, get on.
Yeah.
Because he just played basically like a stoner.
Yeah, that's it. They're like, well, how can we fit him in? I know, we'll just stick him in a shed in the in the field out back. And then the other main character, which covers all, is Brendan Mayer, who plays the son, and he was in The Guest, which is great, The OA, Fear the Walking Dead. The basic premise
Should doing a guest too.
Are there?
Yeah, there's a sequel coming.
I love the first one. Daniel, what's he called? Dan Stevens is brilliant in it. So basically, the premise in theory should be similar to what Steve just said, but it kind of is, but kind of isn't. It's basically told. It's straight up told. It's not told from someone's memory, like a narration kind of thing. So it's more standardly shot. It's about the Gardner family moved to a remote farm in New England.
Which I said earlier on about usually when they tell this story, it's just the farmer's story.
Yeah, which is what they do. They keep that pretty standard. And it's the move to this farm to farm llamas. You seem to produce llamas milk, and then a meteorite lands near the home. Things start to get strange. Plants, animals start to mutate. Time starts to fluctuate. Personalities change, and then eventually they start to mutate themselves, and that goes a bit like crazy, especially with what's it called, Jolie Richardson at the end. That's kind of some pretty good CGI that I thought. It was very kind of
the whole body horror and that when mutating together and all that.
Yeah, it goes bananas.
Very reminiscent of like The Thing. I think it was kind of when I saw that was like
Society,
which it's in Society, which both owe a debt to Lovecraft itself. So it all goes around in circles, doesn't it? So I haven't read the original, but I have heard that Steve's Farbe is closer than this one. A little bit trivia. There's some interesting trivia actually. So this goes back to what you were saying before. It's a bit of a waffle.
Also, don't forget, Nicolas Cage gets to be the ultimate Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, when he loses it at the end,
he absolutely loses it.
Nick Cage.
If you like Nick Cage losing it, this is a good film.
It's
And
basically it's Nicolas Cage on LSD. Is what
Yeah,
this film is
yeah,
for
that's,
me.
yeah, that's a good.
same with Mandy, because Mandy's a very Lovecraftian
massive.
style
Oh, yeah,
as well.
yeah.
With
it's-
Nick Cage in it.
Yeah, it's a good film. And it's,
And that he done that just before he done this.
yeah, I remember they came one after the other. Yeah, I need to rewatch Mandy because I fell asleep in the middle and I missed like about 20 minutes of it. So I need to get back and give that another watch. So basically, a bit of trivia. The colour used in this film to represent the colour is magenta, which doesn't exist as a single wavelength of light as part of the spectrum of visible light. Rather, it is an extraspectral colour that is only perceived by humans in a specific interaction of the optical rods in the eyes that detects red and blue in specific circumstances to create the magenta in the mind. Since red and blue are associated to evil and good, it means that the colour is apart from evil and good to come from another universe where these concepts cannot be applied. The colour code for magenta is RGB, red, green, blue. The colour is a hint for the previous Colour Out of Space, a black and white movie, which is yours, Die Farbe, which was the same colour, the exact same colour. So yeah, so that's why they used it apparently, because it's the closest to get to a colour that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of you think when you see that colour now, a lot of people think of like retro wave. Synthwave.
Yeah, it's got that kind of neon
that,
kind of ness to it.
Yeah.
Neon pink is what
That's it.
The narrator's name is Ward Phillips. Howard Phillips's Lovecraft is H.P. Lovecraft's full name. The weather report playing on the television while Lavinia is washing dishes mentions Arkham, along with Innsmouth, Dunwich and Kingsport. All these settings are part of Lovecraft stories. In addition, Lavinia questions Benny about a former girlfriend from Aylesbury. It's another location in the Lovecraft universe. And finally, in a Q&A with Richard Stanley, he claimed that the film would be the first of a trilogy. This is what I mentioned before. Nevertheless, in March 2021, the trilogy was cancelled after domestic abuse accusations, and the production company Spectravision cut all relations with him. We think that there's since been further thing. I'm sure I read that it was back on again.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it might be back on.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because it would be great to get the trilogy finished.
Yeah, what's his third one? I'm curious about that.
A proper trilogy of H.P. Lovecraft films, because, you know...
With a budget.
Because I think I watched it twice within 2 days.
Yeah.
I think I watched it. I got it and watched it, and then watched it again.
Yeah,
Because it was just so good, and there's not many films you can do that with, and that was just fantastic. Like, and there's so many great Blu-ray releases of it out there as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, you give me one. Actually.
I gave you one because I bought it. I bloody bought it twice, not realising I'd bought it, and it was the big expensive one as well.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate
the first edition thing.
That's what I watched the other day. It was nice that.
Yeah.
Nice Blu-ray.
I suppose in a way, we are in a time where you could pull off with a good budget a decent, version of Shadow of Innsmouth.
That would be a good one. I'd love to see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, easily. Yeah.
You could easily film it in a West Cumbrian village.
Yeah. That's it.
There's plenty of villages. Genuinely, there's plenty of little villages around here that look like they've never changed.
Great. Yeah, or the East Coast.
Yeah.
It'd be good setting it like in the 1930s as well, like getting that, because
Robin
not a
Hood's
lot
Bay
of
or somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, let's hope that Richard Stanley gets to finish his trilogy.
Yeah. No, I'm hopeful. I did Google it the other day, and it did seem hopeful. There's nothing I can tell that's in production or anything, but like,
by the sounds of things, we're going to be doing a sequel to this one.
Yeah.
Carlisle Cult Cinema Club presents H.P. Lovecraft Part 2.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing at least one or two of H.P. Lovecraft inspired.
Yeah.
Because there's that many. Some of them we've already talked about, like Underwater.
Yeah, that would.
You know what I mean? Which is
I'd
certainly
be thinking about doing. Annihilation, I think, has got a lot of colour out of space in it as well.
Yeah.
If I do that one.
But there's so many. But there's, and again, we didn't. The mainstream H.P. Lovecraft adaptations, we only really talked about two.
Yeah.
And that was Haunted Palace and Colour Out of Space, the last one.
Yeah.
And there's still, we've still got the Reanimator, From Beyond.
Do
Necronomicon.
you know what? I was surprised you not
Necronomicon.
mentioned the 1970 Dunwich Horror.
Well, there's that one as well.
I've never seen it.
It's great.
I read it, but
Oh, that's great. I think I've got
It's
it
got
on
Aloe of
VHS
Quantum Leap
somewhere.
in it, doesn't it?
It's in one of the gold boxes on VHS.
is he the main character in it? Or something?
I haven't.
Yeah,
I downloaded it, but
yeah. Dean
Dean Stockfield.
Dean
I did see him
Stockwell.
connected
Stockwell,
with-
that's it.
Dean Stock is the main, and it's Sandra D. Look at me, I'm Sandra D.
Right.
Lousy with virginity. Won't go to bed till I'm legally wed.
What's that of?
Grease.
Oh, yes, I don't like Grease. I'm not sure if I watched.
It's a classic.
It is, isn't it? You got it straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
Sandra D was a big kind of.
Picture show next.
She was an
Yeah,
actress
I'd
from
like
the kind
a
of
Rocky Horror.
60s and 50s, wasn't she? Who was quite big.
Right.
And this was, the 70s. Dunwich Horror was made. It's excellent.
Yeah.
It is. It's. I've got a poster for it.
Right.
I've got a VHS poster for it.
Because there's a couple of versions, wasn't there, of it, of Dunwich Horror?
Aye.
I haven't seen either of
Yeah,
them. But,
no, but I
70s
guess
ones,
it's trippy as hell in parts as well. It's mental. You know what I mean? And it's an adaptation.
yeah.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, that's it. We'll get round to them. But hey, it's been an absolutely fantastic episode.
Yep.
I hope you've all enjoyed it. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget, you can get us on YouTube now, and you can also get us on our normal places, our Buzzsprout, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere else. So I'd just like to thank you all for listening. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Woff. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and tune in soon.
Cheers, PD. Cheers for listening.
Good night. God bless. And we love you all. Bye-bye.